Look, a lot of us are fans of cult movies and TV shows, but today we are going to be talking about the kind of cults that created an entirely different kind of following, featuring some famous faces we may know from our favorite cult classics. Hi, I'm Rachel Fisher, and today we are going to be covering our top 10 list of celebrities and disturbing cults. Warning, things do get pretty dark pretty quickly. Starting off at number 10, we have Winona Ryder in the Rainbow Family Commune of Living. If you're a fan of all the iconic 80s movies and Johnny Depp's Wino Forever tattoo, then you should know the name Winona Ryder very, very well. But what you may not know is that Ryder was raised in the Rainbow Family Commune of Living for most of her life. Ryder's family joined the commune when she was just 7 years old and lived a life solely on the land. No TV, no electricity whatsoever. So how on earth did Winona become so excited about acting? Well, it was actually reading that got her interested in the profession, and when her family moved out of the commune a few years later, she began auditioning. Thankfully, they left the cult life behind before it went really south, but Winona still describes her parents as the 60s hippie type. When she started going to regular school, however, she was still considered an outcast and suffered various types of verbal and physical bullying. But there's a reason we know Winona's name, because she's awesome and she turned whatever weirdness people thought she had into a prolific film and TV career. Go Winona. Number 9. The Arquette Society with Jaden Smith. This next one has drawn in the likes of Jaden Smith and Kylie Jenner. If you're a follower of these two celebs, then you may have seen them holding strange pyramid objects that look like the product of one of those satisfying TikTok resin videos. Well, that's not entirely wrong. These objects are called Arquettes and are the signature object of those in the Arquette Society. What are they? They are pyramids of Arquette, which is a man-made crystal said to be able to realign and heal our imbalanced energies. According to the official website, an Arquette is made from resin, metals, and quartz, which sounds like the perfect craft for all those TikTok resin hobbyists out there. The ideology behind the Arquette Society stems from a banned Austrian psychiatrist named Dr. Wilhelm Reich. A student of Freud, he was expelled from the International Psychoanalytical Association after Freud found significant red flags in his practice and was like, nah, not this guy, get out. After escaping World War II Germany and coming to America, Reich brought his research with him. Unfortunately, I don't know. Making human-sized boxes out of organic and inorganic material. He claimed that if people laid on top of the boxes, the organ would reorganize their cosmic energies, even allegedly healing those with cancer. He was eventually imprisoned for spreading medical disinformation and ironically died of heart failure. But even after his death, Arquettes still live on and have obviously caught some significant attention. A part of me wonders whether Jaden and Kylie knew what they were joining, or if this was just something fun to make at parties. Coming in at number 8, we have David and Patricia Arquette. Though the entire Arquette family are actors, you may recognize the name David and Patricia Arquette for the shows like Medium and, I don't know, Scream. Alongside their interest in acting, the family also had a difficult upbringing linked to the Subud cult. Patricia was only 4 when they moved into the commune, and her brother David was in fact born there. But what is the Subud movement? Well, like many others, it's a cult built around a religious idea of finding the inner self and began in Indonesia in the 1920s. Centered around a practice called Latihan, members met around once or twice, men separated from women, to meditate and accept the power of God through movement. Wailing? Whatever they felt like. Basically sounds like they just did what they felt they needed to, or what they felt God told them to do. The Arquettes lived in a communal space with no washroom or electricity or running water in order to be brought closer to nature. The commune eventually became so poor that the government intervened and dropped off food for them. But apparently there was fun to be had at the commune, because very often the Arquettes would do performances. After a few years though, the family eventually moved back to Chicago after no longer being able to sustain themselves. We all know breathing is good for you. We need it. We literally can't survive without it. But some seem to think that's all we need to survive. Coming in at number 7, we have Michelle Pfiefer and the Breatharian cult. A Breatharian believes that through strict meditation, they can reach a higher conscious state that allows them to be able to survive on air and sunlight alone. No food, nothing else. When Michelle was a young actress in Hollywood, she somehow got involved with a group of Breatharians. I also love the name, it's so literal. Like, cut straight to the point, we're about breathing air. breatharians. Apparently they were very controlling and kept her on a strict vegetarian diet that no one could sustain. Though she never lived with them, she visited constantly due to pressure she received. This became such a financial burden on her because she had to pay every time she was there, which was a lot. She was quite literally a starving artist. Her ex-husband Peter Horton helped her get out of it due to a movie he was working on at the time that dealt with followers of the Unification Church. After doing more research, Michelle finally realized that she was in a cult and got out. Thank goodness she did, because this cult also had some deadly consequences. Some people have even starved themselves to death by their own hand. Most famously was Verity Lynn, who while attempting a 21-day breatharian program died of hypothermia and malnutrition brought on by self-neglect. Coming in at number 6, we have Val Kilmer and the Christian Science group. Here is another cult that has its followers believing in the power of prayer to cure all. We may not have seen much of Val Kilmer lately unless you've been rewatching the 1995 Batman Forever or the Doors movie, but that's because we almost lost him. In 2014, Kilmer finally went to the doctor due to a massive lump in his throat and was diagnosed with throat cancer. Now the Christian Science organization reneged this and said it was more of an idea of cancer rather than actual cancer. The group convinced him that he must instead relocate and dedicate himself to prayer so that his fear no longer manifested externally. Thankfully, his kids and family were like, "No, Dad, please, no, don't do that. That's not gonna work. That's not a thing," and thankfully convinced him to get the surgery he needed to survive. But even still, Kilmer attributes his healing to prayer and not, the doctors that helped him. Coming in at number 5, we have the surprising discovery of Glenn Close and the MRA. In 2014, the OG Cruella de Vil star revealed her family's experience with the moral rearmament cult. The MRA was founded by evangelist leader Reverend Frank Buckman in 1938 under the idea that to change the world you have to change the individual. Though that's not entirely a wrong way to look at global transformation, how he went about it was pretty, cultish? From age 7 to age 22, Glenn and her siblings were sent to live at the group headquarters in Switzerland. They indeed had a group mentality where everyone had to say and do all the same things. According to Close, if you even had desires to do otherwise, you were made to feel insanely guilty about it. When she finally broke away from the group, she wrote a furious letter to her father for what he had done by sending them to the group. She said as a result of her upbringing that she was terrified because she couldn't trust any of her own instincts, having entirely been defined by falsehoods while she was raised. Thankfully, she was able to find her way out of there, walk straight into acting school, therapy, and has now become the absolute icon she is today. Coming in at number 4, imagine your mom finally meets someone and you move in with him right away. Sounds like a suspicious setup? Am I right? This is an evil stepfather story. From age 7, famous rapper Angel Haze was introduced to the Greater Apostolic Faith group by her mother. According to Haze, all the people within the community lived 10 minutes apart and were forbidden to speak to anyone else outside of it. Couldn't listen to music, wear jewelry, and even eat certain things. It continued to get darker and darker, and sadly Haze experienced some of the worst kinds of assault. Thankfully, Angel and her family escaped and she was out of there by age 10 and has built a phenomenal music career since then, which she has used to tell her story and reach out to those who need to hear the same. Her music is filled with passion and revenge for all those who wronged her inside this prolific cult. Her song, Cleaning Out My Closet, is the best example of how Angel has taken her story and used it to create badass music people need to hear. Coming in at number 3, before I continue to our top 3, please just reach down there, press that thumb, let us know you like us, and we'll be so grateful to you in return. Alright, coming in at number 3, we have Jaoquin Pheonix and Rose McGowan with the Children of God cult. Both McGowan and Pheonix belonged to the Children of God cult during a period of time in their upbringing. The cult was helmed by preacher David Brantberg in, you guessed it, the 60s, 1968 specifically, and it initially began as a group for teens. It was fairly standard, the communes were isolated, they believed the end was nigh, and all the rest of the things you need for a cult. No one had jobs because they didn't want to belong to the system. Soon the group had hundreds of different communes, but it was soon revealed that more sinister things were happening. The group was revealed to contain and circulate sex even using girls referred to as flirty fishers to enlist recruits at bars. When Pheonix's mother was introduced to this idea, the family got the heck out of there, and so did McGowan's. McGowan says that she must have gotten out by the skin of her teeth, but remembers seeing the kind of slavery that many women were forced into. But what's even crazier, guys, is that the group is still around today, though they've changed their name. It is now called the Family International, and members are now allowed to live privately in their homes and work outside of the commune. With the allegations, they now believe that the apocalypse is actually not here yet, and they still have around 1,700 members today. Yeah, if you just got a sinking feeling in your stomach, I did too. Coming in at number 2, we have Scientology. This next one is pretty controversial, as many debate whether it is a new form of religion or a business or a cult or all three. If you guess Scientology, then you are correct, and I almost don't even need to tell you who are our stars involved with it. We got Tom Cruise, we got Elizabeth Moss, we got Christy Alley, and John Travolta, and actually many more. One of the reasons people think this religion is so far-fetched was that it was found by an American science fiction writer, Ron L. Hubbard, in 1955. It was initially introduced as a kind of therapy called Dianetics, which sought to erase the content of the active mind so the soul could be more free. But Hubbard came to detest it, as many psychologists denounced it. He was like, oh, never mind, I hate it. Whatever. Scientologists mainly focus on the evolution of the spirit on Earth and something called the Thetan, which they believe is an extraterrestrial creature who created all things. Thetans are trapped within us and have lived multiple human lives. The goal of the Scientologists is to become more aware of the Thetan within them so that they can achieve abilities they never thought possible. I think. I don't know. Guys, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, Scientology is pretty confusing, to say the least. But for some reason, this science and faith-based religion has swept Hollywood, and its followers are devout, to say the least. But those who have left often have some strange things to say. One ex-member named Leah Ramini says that any materials not written by a Scientologist are taught to be lies set on tearing the religion down. Anyone who speaks out against the church is considered an enemy, and they work to tear that person down. Another way the church makes it so hard to leave. Also, remember how I said some people think it's a business? Well, there is a case for that. Apparently there are tiers that define how ascended each follower is, and that there is a top tier that they can reach. Thing is, they have to pay, and Leia says that in fact that there's no top tier and it's all about keeping the money flowing in. Listen, I've read some kick science fiction in my day, and sometimes I want to believe it's so hard. Like, literally any Doctor Who episode I'm in. Sweep me off into your TARDIS, alien boy. But this, well, it's up to you to decide. And here we are, at last but not least, number 1. A cult that has recently been coding headlines with the face of one familiar Smallville actress, Allison Max. NXIVM hit headlines as a cult revolved around a man named Keith Raniere. Initially begun as a self-help multi-level marketing scheme for the heiress's CEOs, Hollywood actors, name anyone else who's famous, NXIVM has now been revealed as an abuse cult where its most devout followers would be branded and forced into sex slavery. Allison Mack was a fanatic within the cult and was even responsible for expanding and recruiting women for Raniere. In typical cult fashion, Keith was viewed as a god and savior, but when all the dirt got out, there was enough evidence to sentence him for 120 years in prison for all the abuse he dealt. The group was responsible for financial cons and ran for 20 years before information leaked about the cult. There is so much to unpack about this case, and no doubt you've heard about it. A lot of our top 10 have taken place in the 60s, which of course it was the hippie decade, you expect it, but even I can't sit still and watch an episode of Smallville without thinking about what was going on behind the scenes. Thankfully, the cult is no more, and many are being brought to justice. And that is our top 10. Cults come in many disguises, so let us know in the comments if you think there are any celebs and cults you think we may have missed. Also, be sure to like and follow while you're at it. We love it. It's nice. I'm your host, Rachel Fisher, and I will see you next time. I love Winona. She's so cool. She just does it, you know? Alright. Yeah, she does. You know, she does. But she came back, and that's what matters. Alright. Man, wow, I need water. 1 second. Coming in at number 7, we have Michelle Pfiefer and the Breatharians. Oh my god. Breathing! If somebody tells you it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Okay, coming in at number 4, Wow, I shouldn't do that because this is very dark. This one's very dark, guys. Okay.
Interesting. Travolta.
Yeah, Travolta, like there's a bunch of people involved. It's nuts. Stay hydrated. Okay, I don't know what's going on, guys. Sorry. Well, I'm sorry, Chris. Whew. Oh, gotta judge. Get hair on my face. All right.